IVM.
Hey!
Hi, Tash. Welcome back
Hi,
to everyone else.
Yes, welcome back to episode number 48. Is it?
Is this 48? I think it is. I think it is 48. Yeah,
it is. Yes,
inching closer and closer to the
big 5-0. Jinx. Yes.
And welcome back to this episode. This is part 2.
Yeah, of the sibling series, ASA X Siblings. We had Devu on last week, and that was super fun.
And we hope you enjoyed that.
Yes.
And if you guys found out things about my adolescent rebelliousness, well, yes, I own up to it now. And so this week, we have the very exciting, very dynamic, and very fun Natasha Rathore.
Hey, I would like to introduce my big sister to our listeners. So I have to say on her behalf, she's feeling a little stressed to be on a public platform on air speaking. Natasha?
Yeah, I have had this anxiety since childhood. You remember the time I had this fancy dress competition where we had to I had to dress up as a fairy.
I
had to dress up as a fairy. And I have dressed up as this fairy with a wand and everything, and I've gone on stage and just started crying.
You were sad fairy. It's okay.
Natasha was a stage frightened as
But that kind of does explain why you spend then most of your life behind the camera instead.
True.
Because that possibly is where... but anyway, we can explore more of that.
Yeah, I'm interested that this was your introduction to our listeners. Now they know you as the... little fairy who cried.
Correct.
Sad fairy.
Sweet fairy.
In Gujarati, there's this thing that my parents say.
Pari to
Rari.
She cried. No? Got it.
I got it. Okay, so Nata, welcome to Agla Station Adulthood. You have been in one of our recording shows before.
Yes.
The one that we did on giving back and the
awareness.
Yes. The ones that Tash and I felt really strongly about, and we talked about the organization that you work for, Sakshi. And anyway, so why don't you tell us more about yourself?
And your adulthood journey. I would like to say Natasha is older than us listeners. She is my big sister.
And I'm turning 30 this year.
That's big. Now that's officially out of the 20s.
However, that makes her and I the pairs of this 4 sibling group of ours. Because you and Dave are the younger ones. So, Nata, we will bond over the fact that we've had to carry the weight and burden of these errant young children.
We'll see about that.
Anyway, so yes, Nata, you're going to be 30. How do you feel? Lol.
I really have mixed feelings, because I've always felt much older than I actually am. So all my friends over my entire lifetime, like even in school, my friends would be my teachers. And I always dated older guys. So it's, I've never really felt my age, to be honest.
You're an old soul.
Yeah, to put it simply, I'm an old soul.
But still hitting 30, because your soul might be old, but you're living this adulthood life as a normal 30-year-old.
Yeah.
So soul being old is one thing, but when you feel like your body is aging, and really it is. Because after a point, you just for the last 2 or 3 years, I've been waking up with body aches every day. So,
dude, that is not... I feel like that has started with us at 25 only. We were like,
And my mother would say, she'd say, look after yourself after 25, because after 25, you start aging. So,
it's
to all our young adult listeners, please brace yourself for 25 and aging. But so you've kind of been on, on our show, like we always say that we think that some of our listeners are younger than us. Mainly because we don't think that our older listeners have much to gain, like we want to learn from them. But being someone who's kind of outside our audience listenership or demographic, you kind of have the edge of being like, okay, you've been at this for at least 2 years longer than I have. And how do you feel like what this stage of life that you're at now, based on what maybe society expects from you versus how you are, what's that like?
So I think the biggest part about being an adult is the uncertainty that comes with it.
Wise.
So and especially at times like these, I mean, your life is anyway uncertain as an adult, and now COVID has made it even more uncertain.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, I don't know. I don't know exactly how to answer that question.
That's okay. It's nice to know that everyone older than us also doesn't have answers.
I really don't have answers, dude. I don't. It's been about taking one thing at a time. Quite literally.
That's good.
Yeah. And I guess step by step is the only way you can accomplish anything in general. Like just like small. I think Tash and I have spoken about this. Is that when you set small tasks and you accomplish them, like that sense.
Exactly.
Of, if I can do this little thing, maybe I can do something slightly bigger. Then maybe something slightly even bigger.
Exactly. Because if you think of everything at once and everything that life is and everything that adulthood is, chances are you'll get really overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There's only one way. You will be overwhelmed.
You will be overwhelmed. You will have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
Okay, so you haven't lived at home in a while, right?
Yeah, it's been 1.5 years almost since I moved out.
But even when, like, I mean, now I'm saying this because I know Nata, so I'm not going to pretend like I don't know. Is that even before you officially moved into this current house that you're in, you've been out like for long stints at a time, like when you were in Delhi for a couple of projects, and you've moved around a lot. And even whenever we met up with you, it was always like, oh, Nata's in town, let's hang out.
Or like Ayushi and Natasha, you all shared a flight randomly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, once we bumped it at the airport. But I mean, you've kind of been out and by yourself.
Correct.
For a while now. And what's that been like? Like, have you enjoyed exploring that autonomy in a way?
Absolutely. I'd say I've always been a kind of a loner ever since I was a kid. So I enjoy being alone and I enjoy exploring things by myself. And so going to Singapore to study was good in a sense because I lived with my grandfather and I had the comforts of home. And at the same time, I kind of was able to come to terms with living alone as well. But then moving to London was completely by myself. And I think that's where I really kind of found my identity and got to know myself better. Also because I was in a place where I was at the London Film School, and in my class there were 20 people from like 18 different countries. So just this whole mesh of like cultures and identities and I think that
as well, right? Like different. Yeah. There was like it was a mix of ages.
Exactly. So I think when you're thrown into a situation like that, you really kind of get to explore yourself and get to know yourself better.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the plus points of all of us having had that opportunity to study or kind of live outside the country and away from at least let's put it this way, away from our parents, has definitely contributed a lot to our individual growth. And I even feel like our personalities have been molded a lot by those kind 100%. Of crucial time away from your family, because you get to develop by yourself as opposed to under like some tutelage of your parents or that guidance.
Tutelage.
And I've always been the sort to like just go and explore. Like I'd book myself on a random cheap Ryanair flight.
Yeah, really. Natasha is just like notorious for explorations and just being like, okay, now I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm picking up and leaving. Like it was, before this lockdown, I would just like to say it used to be really hard to keep track of Natasha because you would be traveling a lot.
This is the longest I've been in one place ever in my life since I was school. Yeah, since school.
But see, that's a completely different way of navigating and living this adult life, right? Like, correct. I don't do it. Tash doesn't do it for the most part. My brother doesn't do it. I mean, picking up to that thing of like the fact that you've lived, I don't want to call it nomadic because sometimes that has a little negative connotation, but I like Nata the nomad. Like Nata the notorious nomad. I like that. But you've been doing that, and that's also a very valid way of living an adult life. Like you're still responsible to certain things, and you're still functional. I talk about functionality all the time, but like you have bills and shit and you manage your life, but you're not tethered to one thing. So can you maybe tell us that? Because that's something that's like wild to me.
I wouldn't say I'm not tethered to one thing because right now I am in terms of functionality and responsibility.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, and it's come to me in a very organic way. Like I've always been the sort to take on a leadership role or responsibility because I just somehow just feel responsible for everything. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but so when I started working with Sakshi, it was essentially, I just assumed responsibility. And now I'm responsible for like, there's 28 people in the organization. Mm-hmm. So, and about 4 years ago, there were just 2 people. So that whole growth.
So this is the most like structured job you've actually had.
Yeah, it's a lot of commitment. Natasha is now tethered by this job, I would say.
So that's actually pretty cool. So you went from that nomadic to now nested Nata.
Correct.
I'm liking this alliteration.
And how's that been for you, like emotionally, mentally, and just growth-wise and life experience-wise, this experience of now like committing yourself to an organization and really just putting all your energies in this place?
So I'd say adulting is one thing, but being an entrepreneur and being an adult, it's like
Sone pe suhaga, but the opposite of that.
Exactly.
Tatti pe tatti.
Yes.
And it's not just like, okay, so it's also another thing if you're running a private limited company versus an NGO, because there is just the responsibilities are so different and there is just so much more to do if you're running an NGO. So
it's also like your whole I feel like the intent behind what you're doing is also like a little bit different, because for you, like, if we were to put like the same roles of like, oh, I am also striving for wealth, but it's more on a personal level. Whereas when you are striving for wealth, it's more on an altruistic, like, oh, if I have this, then this is how it can be channeled and used and all of that. And so, I mean, I think there's also like I sometimes feel like it's a little moral high ground that you can take in life as opposed to me, which is not true.
Well. I won't lie. It does make you feel but I've always had this hero complex also. So, it kind of satisfies that in a way.
That's cool. Good. You found something that fits your all these needs. Tick.
Ikigai.
You found your Ikigai.
I have found my Ikigai.
Oh my God, imagine, that's so funny. You like start dating a guy and he's really icky and you're like, oh, I found this really icky guy.
Oh, you can say like I found my Ikigai as in my Ikigai.
Ikigai, it's like my single one cow.
Oh, your cow.
Sorry for digressing.
These are bad jokes.
Do you want to tell us what Ikigai is? That the 3 things overlap and it's the perfect thing to do, right? Which makes you money and satisfies your soul, and one more thing.
With something that
helps others. Society.
Something that, exactly.
These 3 things that tie in. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say I've also found my Ikigai. Nobody asked me, but yeah.
Nobody asked me also.
Have you?
I don't think I found it yet. Means but I don't expect to find it yet, because I don't think I'm accomplished enough to be truly helping as many people as maybe I would like to help.
Oh no, but on the path to the final ikigai, we are on we are on the right track for I'm
on my many guy heading towards my ikigai.
Nice. I like it.
I'm definitely heading there.
Yeah.
Touch wood.
So that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. You feel good about this commitment and this job and this responsibility, and you feel like you finally found your role in this world, do you think, to a degree? Because you're 30. So I mean, I hope to have that much clarity in the next 2 years. No, this is exactly right where I'm supposed to be. This is what life should be right now. Because I don't know.
It's based on that. And I think, Nata, the reason we're also asking, not just, to put pressure on the age thing, but more because we discussed on our 2 episodes ago, that Fake It Till You Make It one, where we were talking about how actually your late 20s are supposed to be the most miserable, most stressful time of your life. But when you get to that 30, the graph starts stabilizing a little bit. It comes to a little bit of a plane where...
Not because life gets easier, but you get better at dealing with stress.
Exactly. So
exactly.
Has that kind of... Does that feel like it's starting to happen at least?
It is starting to happen, definitely. And, the thing about, one of the joys of becoming an adult is that you your brain develops.
That's true. That's so true.
So,
and your taste buds also, but continue.
Brain develops and taste buds also develop. So, it's a process of evolution, and it's like anything. With practice, it's only going to get better.
So that's actually, I think, a great adulthood takeaway. Just keep practicing at being an adult.
Literally, it kind of ties into the idea of pretending or doing something to try and achieve that goal of being a functional adult, is that you practice maybe being that, or you play it out. Or...
It's a very that old mummy logic, right? Practice makes perfect.
Absolutely.
You have to keep working towards it. But I'm excited to reach that level, maybe, where at least it starts to feel like,
Yeah.
But adulthood becomes easier when you become a better organizer, I feel.
I agree. Now you're giving too many concrete things for me to do, huh? I cannot do.
So, Ria, tips, no?
Same. Tips. Come on, give tips.
Of
course.
It's all about hacking it. Guys.
Suno, dosto, Natasha is about to drop some vishesh tipniyan. Say na about hacking it.
No, it's just how do you plan and organize? Basically that.
So practice, planning, organizing, and executing.
Exactly.
These are your 4 key steps to being a functional adult.
To-do lists have become my best friend.
That's I feel like that bodes well for me, because I love to make lists. Now I have to get to the stage of crossing things off the list.
Yeah.
That.
So now we have apps for things like that. We started using them in the organization to hold people accountable for their tasks and to complete things on time.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's just not a to-do list, but you have a deadline. You kind of...
So I guess in that way, it's the same, like if you want to prescribe to a slightly more structured thought, like approach, which I usually enjoy, is kind of like the same way that you have deadlines and expectations from a job or a place of work, and you are expected to deliver on certain things. Almost in a way, adulthood could be treated in the same way.
Right. It is a job.
If I got to do this, and that's like my performance target for the week. Like, this is my project target for the week.
Oh my God. Guys, we've cracked it. Adulthood. Being an adult, a functional adult, is a job. Then after that, after 9 p.m., the adulthood mask can come off and we can be child again.
Party. But on that party note, do you want to take a little bit of a break?
Yeah, sure thing.
And then when we're back, we'll talk about Nata and Tash's siblingship.
Yeah, but I also just want to quickly ask you another question.
Of course.
Okay.
Oh, okay. You can ask now, and we can break after.
Okay, no, basically just this what are the good things you're feeling happy about, like how life has changed between 28 and 30? What are the like solid good things you can say that I am grateful, or I am happy that this has happened, or I'm happy that now at least, like what changes happen to a person? I am asking because we are heading there, so I just want a heads up.
Okay, you know what? You take a minute to think about this. And then
you can answer.
Break, and then you can answer it after the break.
How
about that? Leave them wanting more.
Yes, come back, baby adults, because our little bigger baby adult has a tippani for us.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another amazing week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money. So it's been a really, really fun week this week. We've had a great episode with Anand Nilakantha on Cyrus Says. Anand was one of the writers of Bahubali, and it's done some really, really fun stuff since that. Ashish Vidyarthi also had a really good episode on his show, Begin the Journey. Please do check that out. You do know Yuddha is back, right? Definitely check it out if you haven't. Yuddha is our show about Indian ancient warfare. It's hosted by Anirudh Kanisetti and Aditya Ramanathan. Really, really great show. You should check that out for sure. And I forgot. Rishikesh was on the network as well. He was on Absolutely Right with Aditi Sarana. Do definitely check that out. With that, let's get you back to the show.
Welcome back. And Nata, tell us, what are the few things that you're happy to have left behind in your 20s?
So I think with age comes a certain sense of maturity and calm. So when I feel like you're operating a lot from emotion and hormones in your early 20s. Yeah. But then in the last 2 years, I've realized that I have learned to take a step back, analyze a situation, and come to a practical decision.
You now respond instead of reacting.
Exactly.
Oh, I like that. Respond instead of react.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess it's also a lot more like impulse control, right? Like,
correct.
The older you get, the better you get at just kind of understanding when you're supposed to be.
So, yeah, you not only become responsible for other areas of life, but you also become responsible in thought and words and action and all of that. Exactly.
Very nice. Very nice.
I think that I like that. I think that in my mind it makes things like maybe when you're younger there's a lot more self-involved behavior, whereas as you get older you kind of start looking outwards as to how
you see the bigger picture better, probably.
And I also feel like doing the work that I am doing, I have developed a lot of empathy,
which is key.
This is great. Thank you for saying that. We did not tell you to say that, but it links up perfectly with our last episode. Correct. Because we also discussed the power of empathy then.
Yeah.
And how important it is.
Very important.
But that's cool. Yeah. Thank you for those baby adulthood lessons and advice. And clearly, it seems like you're doing a decent job.
On most days.
I'm trying my best.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I'm not, it's less daunting when you talk to people who you've also know. I think it's also like, I've known you for so long, so talking to you and seeing you becoming like an adult is exciting because it's like, oh, she did it. She's doing it. I can do it.
It's happening, yeah.
Everyone can do it.
So on that note of having seen you guys and like known you for so long, I mean, you guys have known each other the longest.
We actually have. We were given to each other at birth.
How nice.
Yeah, but there were still so many things that I didn't know about you, which we've just kind of learned. And I remember we were having this conversation about 2 weeks ago, and we were discussing mental health and just feelings and emotions. And in the middle of all that, I was like, shit, we're having a really adult, grown-up conversation.
Yeah, it was a penny drop moment for us in our relationship, I think.
That's awesome.
Finally realize that, we are both hella grown-up.
Yeah.
Hella adulting. Hella having a real heart-to-heart. And things are different from now when we used to be kids and laugh and cry and bully each other and do dumb shit.
And also revisiting our childhood and how that has shaped who we are today and how we react and respond to situations.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's been really wonderful, I would say, having a sibling like Natasha. So when we were kids, we obviously were very close. And
Were we?
I think so. I think we were very close as children. Natasha, what do you mean were we? We used to gang up against the kid next door and all. We were hardcore in cahoots with each other.
You have exposed Natasha right now.
I would say we were in cahoots. I was some kind of...
Yeah, I think we were pretty close till you moved to Cathedral, and then you got all these friends like Ayushi and all.
Yeah. So Natasha has this beef, and I'm just going to be public about it.
Oh my God, really? I didn't even know she had beef.
It's not you. It's just...
I don't have beef. It's just that... I don't know what it was when
It's just teenage years, I feel, and how kids are.
Yeah, so at that point in time, I felt really bullied and excluded and made to feel lesser for not having friends.
Which was Natasha's personal choice. And at that time, I was like, oh, if you don't have friends, you're not cool. Which is, of course, a dumb teenage thing to think. And sadly, our entire school system and society system is geared to reinforce that popularity in school is sought after.
Yeah, but I also think we tend to confuse friendship with popularity. You know,
absolutely, exactly.
Sometimes friendships don't. This is such a silly thing to have to say to people, but it's like you have to be friends with the people that you want to be friends with. It doesn't matter whether they're popular or not popular.
Exactly.
If you are friends with them, you're friends with them.
But schools are weird and kids are weird and they behave badly with each other for no reason.
Yeah, and you used to make fun of me because all my friends were grown-ups.
I'm really, really sorry about that. I'm apologizing on air.
That's nice.
Forgive me.
You're forgiven.
Thanks.
Aww.
So nothing, sorry and thank you can't make up for.
Again, links up to what we said last episode, which is like when it comes to siblings, you should never feel that you have too much pride or ego to say sorry or to fix it or to like kind of mend these little jabs that we might have taken at each other growing up. And this kind of goes to what you were saying, that you guys last week had this conversation as two adults to each other, like talking about where you guys have come. It's interesting because it's almost like when you're a child, you're just two kids growing up and you don't think of anything else. But now you're fully formed adults. You can actually look back and think of all the messed up things that you might have said or done to each other and never realized how much it maybe bothered or affected you. But now you can say it nicely, like, dude, that hurt my feelings solidly.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we've reached that place now for sure. Because
we did.
Even the recent past hasn't really been easy, I would say. There's been a lot of... So our family has had a lot of like stress in just a family situation with my parents getting COVID, our parents getting COVID and hospital shutting down and Natasha and I. So that week also brought out a lot of stress. Those 2-3 weeks actually brought out a lot in both of us. Because like stressful situations really are testing times for families. Like it brings out the worst in people. And I remember we had a conversation at that point where we made a commitment to each other to just be kinder and better to each other. Oh God, yucks. To be better to each other because I am so always for this. Like, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything. Yeah. And another thing which our family loves to say, since I popularized it, what Susie says about Sally says more about Susie than it does about Sally.
That's true, though. That kind of taught us not to gossip at a young age.
Correct. So we have recently brought these two addendums to the
sibling contract.
Yes, that we be kind to each other and we have a conversation if things are not rosy.
Yeah, but you know, you in trying to be kind also...
I'm very passive aggressive. Exactly. This is Natasha's beef and I have admitted it. But Ayushi, what to do when a person is trying to avoid a fight or avoid a stressful situation, but there are, of course, emotions at play. That's something I'm working on also. And you know that.
I guess we all have different ways to deal with it.
Yeah.
My way of dealing with it is just be aggressive.
Full-blown temper.
And just get it over with. And Natasha is the opposite. She will hold on to something and she will just continue to spew passive aggression at you for a much longer period of time.
That's rude. So now again, you're being rude because I'm not being mean to you. And you're saying what I do is wrong and for a longer period of time and what you do is quickly get it out. And that's not nice.
But that's not... I don't think like Nata's right in her approach either. No, you're wrong in your approach. I think
I'm wrong. I'm wrong as well. By lashing out and not giving two F's about what the other person's going to feel is not responsible in any way. So it's not a good thing.
Correct. Fair enough.
But I guess the point is that you're both trying to work on the way that you communicate with each other from now on.
Of course, because also our family and us, we've both been the sort of people who are like anything goes, say anything, get everything out. We don't like keep secrets as such from each other. And that's actually true.
Like you guys as a family, you all are very, very, your communication is very, very open. It's something that I've
to a
seen
point of
well.
like where we can like really be rude to each other or just like not be kind at all. So it's something I think we've been working on consciously, and that is the sort of thing which like an adult would make a choice about.
Yes, I was about to say the adulthood, the adult thing to do is like to value the fact that you have that very open, honest channel of communication, but not abuse it, because that's what lands up happening sometimes. Is you just
exactly.
And I mean, you always hurt the ones that you're like
you love the most,
closest
of course,
to.
And family obviously always sees the worst of you. That's a given.
Is that something that you guys are worried about? Like, just to go off topic for a second, I get worried about that. I'm like, my family seen me at my worst. What if like a life partner or the next family or whatever it is that you're working, like your future, like, will they be able to handle the shit that my family has put up with? Do you guys ever think like...
I think I'm sure somebody can put up with me.
Yeah.
I'm a lot, but I can be put up with.
I think we're all a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that we all will find somebody who will put up with us.
They might be a lot too.
But the question we need to ask ourselves is, do we need to be someone who somebody else needs to be...
to put up with.
Has to put up with.
That's actually that's a good question. That's a lot of like introspective question to ask yourself. Like, am I, like, if I'm a lot, why am I a lot? Do I need to be this much?
Yeah. And I think growing up and adulting is just that you kind of evolve yourself into a better person, a kind of person, and kind of take stock of why you are behaving in a way that you are. And
more often than not, it's linked to childhood, parenting.
So I've never been to I've never been for counseling before, but I tend to counsel myself a lot.
That seems very healthy.
So Natasha and I, of course, we've had this talk because I enjoy therapy, and I've said that you should try it. What's there? What's the harm? But you want to talk about that?
I never really felt the need to, like, I've never really felt completely out of control of, and
But I think what I've learned from Natasha, and Nata, I think that speaks more of what you and I have in common than Tash and I, is that I never thought that I needed to do that, something like that either. But something that Natasha's kind of taught me from what she's learned from therapy is that it's not about whether you think that you're completely out of control or you're at that last straw of desperation, like asking for help. The point of therapy is to get it along the way so you don't reach that crazy point where you're like, now I need to realize that I need some help.
Correct. Yeah. It's a nice way of putting it.
I don't know. Maybe I'll try it. I don't know.
See, listeners, we have convinced one more person, and mental health is another conversation.
So one of the perks of my job is that we create safe spaces for other people.
Right.
So we're constantly having, like, my entire organization is a support group in a sense.
Right.
And that helps. That really helps.
But then you're lucky. Like, you're lucky that your employment and your day-to-day is so is so interactive with people who have that level of empathy or that level of safe spaceness or that level of, like, you can be yourself around me. Like, no, I don't think everyone has that luxury.
No, of course. And that's why it's so key, as if you want to be a functioning adult, you need to build yourself a support system.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. It doesn't always have to be a therapist. Of course, family, friends, colleagues, siblings. Exactly.
But even in a workspace, I feel like if you're in a leadership position, it is very important to create that safe space or create support structure. And it goes both ways. It goes for, it goes up and down.
Right. I mean, like I think there's many ways of looking like that. Like some people like to create that difference between a professional and personal because you want to make that space of like, we don't need to get more involved than we already are. Like we just need to get our job done and move out of it. And I know a lot of people who thrive in sort of environments like that because they don't like to have more of a connection. But then you're right. I guess having your work in particular like you said, requires you guys to have that level of commitment to each other as well and that cohesiveness. So, I mean, I don't advocate for you to self-therapize. Self-counsel. But
we don't advocate that either.
I guess if it's working for you personally, Nata.
You on your own journey. That's the thing. Every adult is on their own journey and it's about whatever happens along that way.
What's a standout moment from your journey together as siblings that you say maybe either, I know it's a lot to ask for just one or two memories, but something that you really feel held you closer?
Our standout moments have always been the trips that we've taken together.
Yeah, Natasha and I love a good trip together. We really,
you guys do well.
We do well. We do very nice, just two of us trips, which of course always have fights, but have a lot of fun and delicious food. And the thing is, Natasha is my perfect travel partner. I'll put it out there on the air for everybody to hear. Yeah, there's nobody else I would like to travel the globe with. I think Natasha is the one.
The knife in my back right now. Anyway, I'm so insecure. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I think that's cool, right? When you travel with your sibling, because it's almost like traveling with the most fun part of your family.
Correct.
It's like we both have had those family holidays, so we know what to have taken from our parents, but now we just can be cool.
It's just us, now we can do whatever we want and still have a blast. Yeah. So we've had a lot of fun trips, and our highlights being when we went to Krabi last year, perhaps. And
I think that was our last
I enjoyed Ritz and Switz.
Ritz and Switz was then Natasha and I did a week in Switzerland, and we drove around, and
we just parked ourselves at one place, which was our uncle's house, and every day we will drive up to a new mountain.
Yeah.
And just sit there and chill and drink chocolate milk and a sandwich.
Yeah. Natasha loves chocolate milk, listeners. I would just like to know.
You were both a couple of Heidis.
Yeah, we were Heidi living in the Alps.
Okay, well, that's, I guess, that's lovely that you guys have something that you'll always have those standout memories in terms of your relationship together. But what's one thing that you would say that you've learned from Nata? Dash.
What have I learned from Natasha? Many things, yeah. She teaches all the time. Firstly, I'd like to say Natasha is an excellent cook, chef, whatever the word is. And her food is very, very 3 to 4 dimensional because I know she likes to sometimes call my food 2-dimensional. So that is something which I admire about her, that she cooks really well and I could learn from her. And mainly to how she is so productive and does a lot of shit on time. And recently she made me feel a little bad about myself because she said, what are you doing with your life? You should be doing more. You are so talented. And I see her running and doing her life, doing the things she needs to, hustling damn hard, working very, very, very hard. Like, Natasha is one of the hardest working people I know.
Yeah, also, but to be very honest...
Wait, not your turn, your turn.
But I think, I don't know. I guess I've just learned many things from her, which I can't really say. Because we are very different, I will admit that. But also we are very, very similar in ways which...
Yeah, I mean, last week when you said that, tune in because Nata and I are very different and Dev and I are very similar, I was going to say, like, I didn't say it then, but in my mind I was like, no, I mean, you guys are quite similar. I've known you for a while.
Correct. And also now I'm now starting to think people are listening. They won't know the difference in our voices.
No, you can. No,
you can.
Okay. You can tell the difference.
This was our whole life on the phone. People being like, oh, "Who's this, Natasha or Ritasha?"
We sound the same.
Imagine apparently. You guys had that problem. My brother, a male, and I had that problem.
My brother, a male.
I don't know who that speaks more about in our house.
Maybe it was before his voice cracked.
It was. His voice cracked very late. We were all very worried.
Fair.
Okay, well, Natha, A, you can respond to that, or B, you can tell me, tell us, everyone.
I have one more thing to say, which is not really just a learning from Natasha sort of thing, but I think there's a lot to this. I know a person who is so closely related to me, part of my life since I was born, and this person happens to be a woman, which is pretty crazy. And on this journey of now being young women in this world that we live in, understanding that your very sibling fully gets this experience of what it is to be a woman and is maybe like 2 years ahead of you. So in terms of all of that, of course, I learned a lot of things in our childhood. Like, oh, okay, the period's going to come and Natasha got it first. I'm going to get it next.
Yeah.
The sports bras are out. Okay, this is what my life's going to be like in a couple of years. So that way, growing up, I always had...
that older sister thing is like, it's a special bond.
Yeah, I would say that for sure. I think it's really nice to have a very, very strong and very successful, smart, intelligent ladies in my life.
I always wanted an older sister.
Now you have Natasha.
You always have me.
Like happy Raksha Bandhan all.
I was going to say, Nata, I have not seen you in so long. It's really it feels awesome to have this conversation.
Likewise.
Nata, now tell me.
About Ritz, what I've learned from Ritz. I've learned how to be a kinder person, for sure. She's a much better human being than I am. And I'm putting it out there on air. She's a lot more empathetic. She judges way less.
That's true.
And she's way more generous, I feel. And
Now I'm crying.
I am not surprised.
Long.
But it's true, though. I think it's nice seeing you guys like this. It's all true. I almost want to say, like, I wish your parents were here to see you guys get along so well.
This is all my mother wants, for us to be best friends forever.
Yeah, that's like her biggest fear.
On Rakhi, she posted so many pictures of the both of you.
She's obsessed with us.
So cute.
But I think even this hospital closing down thing has brought us closer in the sense that now we know that, of course, in the eventuality that when your parents go, it's you and you getting correct. And we went through this experience together of packing up a hospital and
also going through the same kind of trauma just bonds people.
Of course.
Feels like
that should be our tagline for the episode.
Sibling trauma bonds.
It's a joint trauma.
This life without consent we've been given.
And it's kind of one of those things where it's not like either sets of siblings on this conversation have ever suffered any sort of like injustice in terms of parenting or privilege.
Really good lives overall.
Yeah, but I mean, our parents obviously raised us in a certain way. Nobody gets the shit that you want to complain about like your sibling does.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah. For sure. Those are the things. No, really. Those glances when you're in a family setting together, you and your sibling just connecting over something your parent has said and just rolling your eyes at each other, or just a silent acknowledgement that, hey, we'll address it later. Oh, yeah, I got you.
Yes, that
we talk about that.
Sure. We are going to have to talk about that.
And then the joint ganging up on parents, being like, no, how can you guys say that? That's not right. You can't be this way.
Also, it's like having an inbuilt, I think if you've worked at getting to a good, happy place of maturity, which I think now in this phase of life you get there, it's kind of like you have someone who has your back as well to kind of sometimes justify the decisions you might have made, or because, maybe your parents or your partner might not always understand the things that you do, But it's nice to speak to your sibling and be like, I just need you to just be on team me right now.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I think the whole point of working on your relationship with siblings is so you get to that point where no matter what happens, your siblings like, yes, I'm here. It's team you. It's team me. It's team us.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's team us.
It's team us. It's team Taigu and Bubbles.
Oh yeah, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, we can tell our listeners about our cute inner life that we have.
Yes.
Okay, so listeners, you have to know that Natasha and I, when we used to fight a lot, we would go into our safe
That's
space.
another life hack, okay?
Yes.
So listen in carefully.
Siblings especially, create characters which will help you escape sometimes your real
Once
bad
again,
selves.
pretend
Exactly.
play.
Pretend play is something we have turned to many a times, and we had made this whole safe world for ourselves where it was Bubbles and Taigu ke Karname. That's how my Karname started actually, because
Right, that's
if
true.
anyone's familiar with my comic series on Instagram called Karname, it was born out of Taigu and Bubbles ke Karname. You want to sing the theme song? Do you remember it or have you forgotten it? It's very simple.
Forgotten.
Taigu and Bubbles, Bubbles and Taigu, ke Karname. That's it. That was our thing. And we had a voice where we used to talk to each other.
No.
Oh, now you're talking in a Filipino accent.
Which we also do sometimes.
Oh, we do that.
We do
I
that
know that.
regularly.
I know that. You can't be in the Rathore household without all of them. And then like Ritasha's mom basically grew up in Singapore. So sometimes her accent is kind of in that wheelhouse. Then all three of you slip into it. And I'm just like, there is like some severe, like latent racism here going on.
It's not racism. It's just us.
Natasha and I,
No,
yeah.
la, okay la.
Yeah, so the Singaporean thing is to there, but we sometimes talk in a Filipino accent because that really is something we really love to do.
Yeah, it's just de-stressing.
Yeah, it really is
No,
de-stressing.
it's funny. It is funny.
Yeah, and we have a whole little world of Taigu and Bubbles, and they have facial expressions.
It's the facial expressions.
Yeah.
So when we are fighting, when we are fighting, we automatically switch to those characters, and these characters make really cute faces.
And they say things like, Bubble, feel hurted.
Exactly, Taigu feels hurted. And then you can't help but see your sibling like that.
The cutest
like,
possible face ever. And you're like, oh, Bubble, so Taigu.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I mean, if it works, who am I to say?
Literally, I would say all siblings just got to find their own hacks for making
I think all
their
siblings
relationship a success.
have weird things anyway that nobody else can understand, but only you guys can. And I like that. I want to reiterate something that we said last week before we wrap up is the same. And this episode's made me feel it again even more. It's just, this is such a valuable relationship. If you have it in your life, you truly should treasure it. Try to fix it if it's a little bit broken right now. We've been given this really weird time to reanalyze and look inwards into all our relationships. I think this one should be at the top of the list. Your sibling.
For sure.
Oh,
Personal jinx.
what a great unplanned moment. Just gems.
Amazing. Natasha, can you please tell us where our listeners can find you on social media?
Yes.
Yeah, they can find me at NATASHJARATHORE on all.
Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's
Okay.
it.
that's it.
Natasha Rathore.
And LinkedIn if you want.
LinkedIn if you want to. You know, Natasha is
I
really
mean,
cool.
she's a professional.
Yeah.
I'm a professional, yeah.
Yeah. Check her out. She's super cool. She's smart. She's classy. She's savage. Yeah.
Okay.
And a little bit bougie.
Also a little
Sometimes
bit
ratchet.
Ratchet as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, on that really millennial note, Nata, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yes, thank you.
It's been lovely, and it's been so warm, and my anxiety flew out of the window. And thank you for creating a safe space for me to talk.
Yay! This
We
is
love
what
it.
ASA is. We hope for Agla Station Adulthood to build a community of baby adults so we can all be together in this struggle / journey. Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you. Like, I mean, personally, too, it's just so good to see you because I mean, we're friends already. But also for the show, thanks for taking the time and doing this. I think it'll be really cool to have our listeners have someone older to listen to for once.
All righty,
love
folks.
you, Ayushi. Love you, Red.
Love you guys too.
Okay,
I will
bye,
talk to you guys soon.
Yes, if you want to check out more podcasts, you can find them on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. They're also available wherever you get your podcasts.
And you know where to find us. Tash is just at Ritash on Instagram, and I am at Ayushi A9 on Insta, and at Just Ayushi on Twitter.
Absolutely. Find us, write to us, tell us about your siblings,
Please.
Tell us about your Raksha Bandhan, or tell us about whatever you want to talk to us about. And we are so happy to share this community with you.
Catch you guys next week.
Peace.
Bye.
Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Don Bradman, and now Cyrus Brocha. Okay, probably not in the right company. I mean, Don Bradman is Australian. But it's called Cyrus Says, a wonderful show about everything. Find the show on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Are you constantly seeking happiness? Wondering how to make the most of every day? How not to let your inhibitions stop you from achieving your goals? It's now time to get your A-game on. It's time to unlock your true potential. Tune in to the Empowering series with me, Zarina Poonawalla, to feel empowered in all genres of life. From behavioral skills to management skills. From health to relationships. From mental well-being to emotional well-being. And of course, your finances. I've got you covered. With these tips and tricks from me, Zarina, and true life stories from my amazing guests, you're bound to bring your purest to the table. Tune in to the Empowering series with Zarina Poonawalla every Thursday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you listen to podcasts.